Now I only need a length of yarn 4 times the width of my piece in order to do the tubular cast off. I'll just take a little bit more, cut it off and thread it onto a tapestry needle. Now in order to set up, you don't need to, but you can, and it makes it easier if you're learning it, slip the stitches like so. Take a different circular needle, doesn't have to be a correct size. Slip the knit stitches onto the front needle and the purl stitches onto the back needle. Now at first I used to look at these sewn bind offs and I used to despair. Every single time I'd have to first consult YouTube and find a tutorial. Not all tutorials were the same, there are differences out there, and then I looked in a book, and it wasn't until I discovered this book, Reversible Knitting by Lynn Barr, with projects from 20 designers. Right at the very back, Kitchener Plus. I don't need any more instructions whatsoever, because the principle is very simple. I have my length of yarn on a tapestry needle. I have stitches that are knit stitches facing me, and if you look at the back needle, those are all purl bumps. Now I'm going to first look at the first 2 stitches, the first stitch on each needle, and I'm going to lock them, because before you can slip a stitch off the needle it needs to be locked. So because this is a knit stitch, I'll take the yarn through purlwise, because that is what locks the stitch, and then I'll look at the first stitch on the rear needle, and because it's a purl stitch I'll lock it by taking the needle through knitwise and pulling it tight. Now that these first two stitches have been locked, I can start slipping, but when I slip I treat the stitches in pairs and lock the next stitch as well. So the first stitch is a knit stitch. I slip it off the needles by pulling the yarn through it knitwise, and then I go to the next knit stitch and lock it by pulling the needle through purlwise. Then I go to the back needle. The first purl stitch is slipped purlwise, and then the next, and off the needles, and the next purl stitch is locked by taking the needle through it, the yarn through it knitwise. And now I'm ready to look at the next 2 pairs on the needle. So the first stitch is knitted off, slipped off knitwise, and the subsequent stitch in that pair, because it's a knit stitch, is locked by taking the yarn through purlwise. The next 2 purl stitches on the rear needle, the first stitch is slipped purlwise because it's a purl stitch, can come off the needles, and the next stitch is locked knitwise. So slip and lock, slip and lock knitwise. Now you've locked both front stitches when you did the last pair, as it were, and because they've been locked they can be slipped. So you slip that stitch and lock this stitch, the very last stitch on the front needle. You slip the right hand stitch, the end stitch, on the back needle purlwise, and lock the very last stitch on the back needle knitwise. Now these 2 have been locked and therefore they can be slipped quite easily. Slip the front one knitwise and off the needles, slip the rear one purlwise and off the needles.